What up, Marsh Pond? Recording this Monday night. Good episode. Had a great conversation with Coach Tim Belardi, that of Gotham 5. Talked about a wide range of issues, including some of the comments made by other coaches and everything that he's done to build up Gotham 5 and this year and last. I think at one point I mentally mixed up Mikey Williams and DJ Wagner. We briefly talked about the originators and all Coach Dodge has been. So if you get to that point, and I do say, I think I referenced that she might have a tough time now. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. That was a miscommunication on my end. Obviously, Mikey Williams, best coast ballers. Before the conversation with Tim Belardi, though, I did want to touch on one quick thing, and that was all that happened late last night, Sunday night, within the Discord, and earmuffs for you young ones out there. Here's the warning, so cover them up. But that shit does not belong in our league. That shit, frankly, doesn't belong anywhere. A player that I had refused to name originally, and I will refuse to name again, because he deserves no name recognition, is despicable. The actions that he took, the immaturity that he had, and the outright ignorance that he played with, not on the court but in life, is stupid. This is nothing to do with the injury, if he was in fact shot. It has nothing to do with that. But for a person to state that someone else is going to catch some in their body, them being bullets, and then have the audacity to then, when somebody says something to them about it, that they're not talking about bullets, you're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot, okay? This is not me asking for anything. This is ridiculous that a game can bring this out of somebody. So for every person that was involved, I'm not speaking on behalf of the league. I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone except myself. I apologize that was ever involved in this organization. I apologize that we had to deal with this collectively. I know this isn't my fault, but I still feel that an apology is due to those who have put the time and effort into trying to develop themselves, enjoying the product. And sure, guys like Benari James came out. They said a lot of stuff early on in the season, but guess what? Benari has not only learned from that, because he doesn't talk near, I'm not saying he shouldn't, nor has he stopped talking smoke, but he's also backed it up with really good play on the court. He's been a great basketball player. So for these people that have put the time and effort into themselves, this product, for something like that to be here is unacceptable. It's obviously not condoned by the league, and that's why he's been removed, effective immediately. There's no return. This is not an Adam Mack situation. That was a team level. This is a player level. We're not going to tell you a story about why he's not here. He's not here. He's not here because he's ignorant, and his actions have no place, not only in this league, but they have no place in this world. So I'm glad that this is all behind us, that we do not have to deal with this in the future. Thank you to everybody. I hope that this individual finds a way to get the help that he clearly needs. I wish him nothing but the best in hopes that he can turn this around. But we're ready to move on. It's the last time we're talking about this. Enjoy the conversation with Tim. We'll talk to you Thursday. All right, joined today by head coach of Gotham 5, Coach Tim Belardi, the quote-unquote most overrated coach in SimWorld Hoops. Coach, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. I mean, this has been a little chaotic season for you guys, between the preseason conversations about you guys, about you specifically, and then the beginning of the year, I think, was probably more surprising. You guys have righted the ship recently, but I think to kick it off, I mean, it has not been the easiest going, I would say, for you guys, or at least I would have to imagine.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but we're still working on getting everything figured out. But we're doing all right, so take it
So
easy.
the big question, I think, is I'll start with Mackenzie Mbako because he's been the most fascinating player on your guys' team this season for a number of reasons. But I think we can go kind of like most recently. What's it been like between, the rumors that he might want to leave Gotham 5 and then 2 weeks later, if that, he asks out of his commitment to Duke. I mean, is it a distraction for you guys? What's that been like with the rest of your team?
I wouldn't say it's distraction. I mean, he's got to do what he has to do for him and his family and what he sees as the what's right for them. So we do what we can, and we move forward with our team and who we have. And Mackenzie's always been there, so he's never not been there for us. So we'll take what we can.
I mean, considering you were on in coaching Gotham 5 a year ago, one of the few coaches that has kind of carried over from I guess alpha season here to season one. What's been the difference in navigating the players? Because you certainly had big personalities and big players last season with Shea King, with Steven Johnson Odom kind of making that rise. What's the difference been between last year to this year?
I mean, there's a lot of similarities to the both teams. I mean, between the size of the roster to style of play, it not much has changed. It's there's a few things we're still trying to figure out with it. I mean, we got guys coming, we have guys going, so it's basically just getting the right fit for the team that we have in place at the present moment.
What was the approach? I mean, you had a campaign a year ago where you did start off with some big names, but at the same time, guys like Steven Johnson Odom came out of nowhere and turned in what was a surprisingly good season. Was that something when you're coming into this year where you're almost thinking, I need to try to recreate that? Or are you trying to say, I'm going to see what we've got on day one, and then that's the type of team that we're going to play with?
Coming into the season, I did want that same type of style. I didn't want to box in. This guy's a star. This guy's a star. We're going to run through them. I wanted to whoever's whoever I have that has a hot hand that game. We're going to let them do their thing. But I mean, it has been lately that we've got to shift things around and see who can carry this team. And we've got a few guys that we can count on to do such a thing.
I mean, you got a group that, not only can do a lot with the ball, but you've also got a fair amount of personality, especially obviously Mackenzie Mbako, but you add Kyan Anthony to that mix. He's been efficient for you off the bench. The Williamses, the Matthews. I mean, it's a very unique personality group. Was that intentional to bring in guys that have specific characters, or were you more, I guess, surprised at when they all not surprised, but pleasantly surprised, I guess, when they all kind of came together and they're playing the way that they are?
Yeah, I'd say we were pleasantly surprised. They meshed pretty quickly, and we really haven't had any problems with the guys not meshing well together. So last year we did run in a couple things like that throughout the season, but this year we haven't had any of those problems.
I mean, is there something that, I'm not asking you to spill the beans on anything, obviously, but when you have that knowledge of how difficult this can be to manage personalities, and then teams come in the off season, they fill out their roster, and you've got new leaders of these teams, and even some carryovers that are adamant without a game being played that they're going to be this, that, and the other. They're going to be the best team. Everybody's sleeping on them. And we're a month into the season, and a lot of those coaches and a lot of those players that were saying those types of things are not really backing it up, for lack of a better phrasing. Do you think people just didn't understand or haven't quite figured out that this is not a plug and play operation, that there needs to be more consideration before, let alone you open your mouth, before you even step on the floor?
I think so. I think that's a thing that we've never done. Uh, we let our play do the talking for us, but we we're never set on one thing. We go with what works, what we can game plan for, and that's the way we roll. We don't force stuff here. We just go with our game plan, and our guys are ready to take on whatever role they need to take on.
Take me through the
But
recruiting. Sorry, go ahead. Don't let
no,
me
go ahead.
stop you.
Yeah, you're good.
Well, I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say, take me through the recruiting process of guys like Mackenzie Mbako and like Kyan Anthony. They're big names. They're guys that, you know, are gonna have a lot of suitors based purely off their AAU or their last name, right? Give credit to a coach like yourself that goes out and gets guys like the Matthews, like the Williams is. You fill out a roster full of guys that are competent with one another, but they're kind of unheralded. I know that's a totally different conversation, but what's it like, and what did you find successful in recruiting guys like Kyan Anthony, like Mackenzie Mbako, that kind of come with some preconceived notions of who they are and having a perception where everyone probably is going to want them?
I mean, we kind of just stuck to our local guys, and we just happened to have two guys in Cayenne and Mackenzie that were local guys, and who, after a few meetings, wanted to come play for Gotham, and the team did more of the talking than I did. That's that helped. That helped a lot. Bring them in.
What do you mean when you say the team did more of the talking than you did?
Just the our pedigree from last season carried on into this season, and then also being the local team.
With guys like Sayer Hakeem, Jaron Mugen, what was different about their recruitments?
Uh, those guys really wanted to come to Gotham as well. I mean, I didn't have to put in too much work with those guys.
Did
They
it?
knew where they wanted to come, and they were ready to do whatever it took to get here.
What did they say when they say, when you're saying they knew where they wanted to go, that you had kind of had that built up of a perception? Was there anything specifically that they mentioned that was like, this is why we're coming here?
Not necessarily. It was just when I finally did reach out, they said that they were waiting for that call, and they'd love to join.
So I'm not going to try to get you into a war of words with another coach, but when when you heard for the first time that somebody called you overrated despite everything that you did a year ago, what is that like to be told
Yeah,
you're overrated?
I mean, just like I said earlier, we let our play do the talking, but I'll let my coaching do the talking as well.
Is there anything?
I think my record speaks for itself.
I mean, it's a top rope take. I'm not gonna deny that. To say, I mean, you won 25 games last season,
Somewhere
something
around
like
there.
that. You put together a really good track record. I mean, I'm not just trying to fluff you up, Tim, but you put together a good track record of wins, and then obviously development, which is, I would argue, the hardest part of this is to develop a kid
I agree.
from nothing into something. So with that, how do you make? I think SJO is probably the easiest one because he went from literal obscurity to being a top 10 recruit in a matter of weeks. What was that process, and how do you go about getting that out of a player?
Honestly, I think CMJ was probably the
True.
uh, the tougher and more surprising. It took almost let's say 3/4 of the season to finally get him to get the best out of him. And once he came out of his shell, he hit the every stat I think he could. But yeah, it's just seeing what they have in practice, seeing what they have in games, and then doing my best to to bring out their best assets.
How is it, you know, last season you have a great year, and I think, Coach Murray falls into this same category, Coach Dodge. I think Coach Dodge kind of came on later in terms of the development of talent. If you gave her the whole season, I would be shocked if she didn't end up with a similar record that you guys had. And, latest news aside, she's done a good job of kind of proving that to be true. But when all three of you get knocked from the tournament so early, I mean, is that like, do you begin to question, did any of what we did actually not matter, but was it actually as are we as actually competent as we made ourselves look for what, 3 months, and then one game it's over? I mean, I know that's obviously the way a tournament's going to work, but was there any second guessing at the end of that that kind of says, hey, maybe what we did really wasn't the actual sample size?
I mean, yeah, your ultimate goal is to win that championship, and when that doesn't happen, especially when you get bounced in the first round, do we get bounced in?
Mm-hmm.
You start to question a lot of things, but you just you can't really question too much, and you just got to go with what you have and just continue to build on it. Look at your mistakes and continue to build on the next season.
So I think, the one and done tournament format is obviously great for the drama of it, because you have one, you can have a Seattle or a Houston who last season were, for lack of better term, garbage for the entirety of it. Like they just were not winning games at all. And then they pop off in what was it, Houston that took down Myron, and they make that deep run. Do you think there's a reason to kind of advocate for a best 2 out of 3 format and not this one and done format that just basically is college, and everything before is just you win and you're on? If you lose, it doesn't matter that you might have won the last 13 games, you're done. You think there's any value, or would you want to advocate for a series versus one game?
I'd advocate for the best of 3 series, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not currently the head of the Coaches Association, correct? Or are you back? So
Myron is.
Myron is. So, I mean, is that conversations that have been had when you were in that role, or currently, advocating to Myron to kind of push for it?
Nah, not yet, but now that you speak of it,
maybe we should
in the next conversation. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's warranted, because as much as college basketball, just to use that as the most, obvious example, it's exciting when you get, the first round upsets when, Farley Dickinson wins as a 16 seed. But when you move on in those tournaments, and to bring it to SimWorld, the fact that it was, Africa who won the international championship last year. Africa's what, 1-7 right now. It to me,
coach.
Right, exactly. And it's almost as if, yeah, the drama's great, but do we want the end product to be more impressive than the early product? Because you're going to get a great shock and awe, but at the end of the day, does anybody walk out of that and say, Aji Feshbenley is the best player in SimWorld Hoops because he was the best player on the best team? No, no one's saying that. To me, it would seem like if we can get a little more opportunity for the best teams to actually be alive at the end of it, it makes for a better product for everyone.
I agree completely.
Well, we'll have to, I'm looking forward to hearing about the pushes now from the Coaches Association.
Myron's getting a message right after this conversation.
Good, as he should. Well, I mean, Myron hasn't had the best run of it either. And again, I'm not trying to force you guys into any wars, but he has had a tough time, though. It seems like whenever it's Gotham and Run DMV, or last year Washington and New York, it's never that. It's Tim and Myron. That's the conversation. Yeah. I mean, do you clearly they get up for it. I'm not saying you guys don't, but I think what is he now, 3-2 against you? Is that what the season series or the career series is at?
Yes, it is.
Do you get up more for those, or do they mean anything more to you?
Yeah, there's a mutual respect between Meyer and I, and it's always a game that we have circled on the schedule. It's
So,
always a fun time.
I mean, by that knowledge, then, where was it? The April 5th game must have been pretty heavily circled, the Beyond the Arch game, I take it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, the to me the best part of all of this is that we're and it didn't quite exist at the beginning of last season as it won at the beginning of any uh, campaign or league beginnings. Is the rivalries that are starting to kind of come together.
Yeah.
The the New York DC rivalry I think is always kind of there. Same thing with New York to
Mhm.
Philadelphia, and that's just in general. But to see that now make its way into SimWorld and particularly having two personalities, yourself and Myron, that stand out, um, I would say for the better on you're positively growing kids, you're developing talent, and then you're moving them to the next tier of basketball that other coaches just haven't shown the capability to do. Um, it's exciting to see those types of relationships and friendly or depending on the city, potentially unfriendly rivalries start to kind of exist here.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if Coach Smith would have stuck around a little longer, we probably would have had a nice little rivalry there too. Me and him just didn't gel too well.
Is there anything more to that? I mean, obviously he was a
Uh,
very outspoken
just it,
guy.
yeah, it just didn't gel with my personality. Two
What's
two separate styles.
I would agree with that, and to not kick someone when they're down by any means, but he coached with a very specific way, and he got the best out of his team most recently in Showtime. But
Well, I wouldn't say got the best.
no,
Got the best out of Bronny James, maybe.
well, I'm on the record saying that the format of one star does not work, and I use Myron unfortunately as the prime example of that last season with Cooper King across. Not to say that Myron by any means relied only on CKC, but the high usage player at any form of basketball does not always result in wins.
Yeah, I agree. I think Coach Smith was wasting Corey Yams's talents. I think this new coach is starting to get it out of him.
Well, Yams is a talented defender. It's tough to see. You look at someone like Bay Area and they utilize a lot of guys, but like to use a big example, Trey Hyman is a very talented defender, but he's given the opportunity on the offensive end to be a facilitator, a scorer, crash the glass. And yeah, Corey is almost used more so in like a Dennis Rodman, Draymond Green, like current Draymond, not peak
Yeah,
Draymond. Yeah, orchestrate our defense, get us in position, get some boards, but you can't be as athletic as Corey is and not be capable of scoring 12 points
agree.
just out of bed.
Yeah, yeah. Two points in a game just wasn't enough for that guy.
I mean, to that point, and is it harder? Because I guess you made the case with CMJ and SJO last season. You're the big whisperer. We're seeing other guys like Reza Red and Indy that just don't seem to be factored into the offense. Is it harder to get the best out of a big at any or at this level compared to a guard?
No, I think once you figure out what their skill set is and what they do best, and ways that you can get them to the hoop, then it all kind of just flows.
And is that, in your opinion, a pick and roll type of offense, or do you try to find other ways that they, you know,
Whether it be a pick and roll or just another way to get them the ball, just seeing how the defense opens up.
well, you guys got a big slate ahead of you, and this will be the last thing I'll let you enjoy this Sunday. Um, you got a big slate coming up, so we are recording this on Sunday, like I said, so the 16th. So your schedule on the docket is Tuesday. So by the time I guess this will drop in the morning, home game against Heartland Zombie Stars, who have kind of been scuffling, and then a big close to the month with Best Coast and Bay Area. what's the game plan? I mean, you don't have to give me the what you guys are planning to do, but kind of what's your guys' approach to these next three games?
I mean, we've been just shifting things around for the past few games, so we'll take a look at uh, the scouting reports on each of the teams, and then make the adjustments that we need, and hopefully make the right adjustments.
Well, good luck, coach. You guys are sitting a lot better than folks would have thought you were. Three straight wins, back into the power rankings top 10 if that's something you or anyone else cares about. Obviously the division standings is what it does, but appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck not only with the rest of these games here in April, but throughout the season, and working to dispel those overrated talks about yourself.
I appreciate it.